So call this part two. This is for the Infiniti FX50. I'm still working on spacers, and I figured instead of just showing you spacers or the end product, what it looks like with spacers, why not show you how I get to it? So this is the rear, and for the rear, I'm going to be installing 25 millimeter spacers. Well, I would like to get 25 millimeter spacing. I have two different spacers here. The largest, the thickest spacer I own is a 20 millimeter, and although it's not that big, I bought different combinations because I knew I would be able to play games like this. Basically, if I need 25, I have this 5 millimeter here and have the 20, and then just combine them. I'm going to put the 5 down first, and then go ahead and bolt the 20 down. And these are hub centric, you know, so you can see that it's nice, well centered. It doesn't have any play side to side, and so does this one here. You might want to ask, why wouldn't I do this one first? Well, because I can bolt both of them down and be secure and be confident in the way they're bolted down. The other one, it's a problem because if you get a very thin spacer, the studs from the car come out and still poke through, so this one wouldn't be able to sit down. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and secure this one here, and then I might show you what it looks like for the front. For the front, I intend to use 15 millimeter. So I've got this one here, and the 15 millimeter has studs that are integral to the spacer itself. I think the sweet spot is usually around 12, whereby if you get a spacer that's too thin, you know, well, a certain thinness, you can get away with it, like the 5, right? But you get it to where it's a certain thickness, the studs from the car are not poking through enough for you to have a secure connection. And I've seen very few 12 millimeter spacers with integrated studs themselves, so it's usually an interesting game. I don't use spacers permanently. I just use them briefly for testing purposes, because it's actually time to replace my tire. It does need replacement, but this is how I usually make decisions. Instead of just buying tires and slapping them onto these wheels, why not upgrade the whole thing? So I take this time, I'm going to get some custom wheels made for the vehicle, and then this is why I'm using the spacers to get my ideal spacing. That's what I'm going for. So I will set the camera down. Next time we hold it up, we'll be looking at the front, see how the front is going to look like, and then I will show you the final product. So instead of just jumping to the end, I'll show you how this all works. So the rear, we're getting there. I should have put the e-brake to hold it down, but we'll be fine for now. So at least I'll be able to tighten these down, okay? Alright, so pretty much have it down. Just going through and tightening them. I dislike spacers for various reasons. One of them is that, so you either, as I mentioned earlier, you either have to get spacers with studs in them, and then whenever you need to put the wheel on, you need to torque these down to spec, right? Torque these down properly to make sure this one is steady, and then come in and get your wheel and bolt your wheel onto here. Okay, so that's, you know, that one of those reasons. The second thing is that if you have spacers that don't have or don't qualify for having their own studs, you need to get extended studs, in that your factory ones, for example, if you got, let's say 15, right? A 15 millimeter spacer with no studs in it, you need to make sure that your factory studs are 15 millimeters longer, just so that you can still bolt down your wheels carefully. And then what happens when you remove your wheels? Now you have to remember, oh well, those studs that I have over there, they're going to need pass through. These are, you know, capless lug nuts, so that when you go through, they'll poke through. So it's always an interesting thing. And right now I'm fighting this because I believe it's, what, 19 millimeter? Yeah, these nuts are 19 millimeters, and I'm trying to remove one so I can show you what the socket looks like. They're very non-standard working tools. Sometimes I know you can buy them and they give you the correct socket for it, but then this one I need 19, and it wasn't a standard 19, because a standard 19 would be too thick to go here. And obviously the one on my lug wrench, this cross lug wrench, was too thick to go in here. So it's an interesting game that you have to play. But yeah, this is what I'm using, the standard sockets over here. So let me finish this up, tighten this down, then go to the front. And now I'm ready to do the front. It's going to be less complicated because all I want is a 15 millimeter, which is what I have here. So set this one on there. Again, it's a hub-centric spacer, so it doesn't have any play side to side. This one actually seems really well machined. Go ahead and bolt these down. As you can see, with something smaller, these are the studs poke out, the original ones for the car. And this is a part where, and this is why I decided to do this video, to kind of show you, you know, it's going to be a little long-winded, but I want you to, I like giving as much information as I can. So when I bolt this one down, you'll note, you know, let me just do it first, then I'll talk about it. Okay, even before getting onto the stud problem I was going to talk about, I have a problem that usually gets people with rear-wheel drive cars. Because with the rear-wheel drive car, your front axles, you know, first you don't have axles, so your front wheel is free, or hub is free spinning. And two is that people with all-wheel drive vehicles like this one, rear-wheel drive based all-wheel drive models, usually when you're parked, your front axle, or rather your front drivetrain, is uncoupled. So right now, again, it's turning freely, and my differential is turning in there, if you can see that, but it's uncoupled from the transfer case, right? So you need either one, you need somebody in the driver's seat to, you know, push the brake down, make sure you don't cause any issues. Because again, remember, when you have bolt down spacers like this one, you need to bolt this spacer onto your rotor, make sure that's safe and secure, and then you can come in and bolt your wheel over this one here. And that's usually, as I said, the challenge of spacers is that how do you do it right? So with this one, being that I don't think I intend to do 15 long term. I don't think I want the spec. I don't want the wheel to poke out a whole 15 millimeter long term. But right now I'm just doing it for the video. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to tighten it all the way because, again, as I said, I need help. I need someone to bolt it down. This is one advantage of the extended studs, because this is 15 as an example. If I got studs that were 15 millimeters longer, I could just put my wheel on there without having to fuss about it, and then I can lower the car just enough to, you know, to tighten the wheel, to tighten the entire thing. And usually what I do with wheels or with tires, I can usually just hold on the outside or hold on to the spokes and kind of tighten it in the air. And then when you set it down, you have even more friction to do it. So this is one disadvantage of doing it this way, is that for the front, since it's free turning for the most part, it's going to be a little challenging to set it down. But now that I'm here, let me talk about the other thing I was talking about, was that studs. So it's nice that this one came with its own studs, but you'll realize that it's not thick enough for these original studs to disappear. This is why the design, the wheel design right here, has pockets. See these? I don't think it's just a nice feature to have that we end up using spacers for. Generally, the manufacturer doesn't really care about your spacers. This is more weight savings for them. I'd say maybe just achieves both features in this case, but I know the pockets and stuff, it's something that manufacturers do for weight balancing and just weight savings. You don't want a heavy wheel for no reason, especially hanging that far out there. So as you can see, this one here, as I said, you have pockets. So this stud, this extension here, can disappear right in here without a problem. And then the new studs, this is what your new studs are going to be. These are going to go all the way through here where your original ones went through. Okay, so I'm glad I'm doing this video in this extent. At least I'm able to show what's going on there. And yeah, so let me go ahead, bolt this one down, put it on, bolt it down as best as I can, because as I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just doing this for video, so I'm not afraid of it running away, but I'll do my best. I'll grab on it and then just tighten as best as I can. But usually when you have the leverage, you know, like a whole wheel and tire, you do a better job at it. Okay, cool. And bam, we are pretty much done. So this is what the end result looks like. But what I'm going to do now is basically create another video. This video will be a little shorter, and it will be titled just like it. It's going to lead people into watch this video to see how it looks like. It's not going to tell you how to do it. And I didn't know how long the first video was going to be. As I said, I make the videos as long as they need to be. You take out of it whatever you need to, but I think watching this process for people who maybe don't really dabble with cars, and maybe the first time they're coming to deal with a wheel spacer is when they watch my video, maybe this part is going to make sense, you know, as to how exactly you install it. And we've been talking about the advantages and disadvantages of certain things, right? Certain designs. And then I just realized maybe I've not shown what a bolt-on or, you know, studless wheel spacer looks like. This is it. This one goes on exactly right before your wheel goes, and then you bolt it down. And then I've got other combinations. This is a 3mm 5, which is, you know, basically what you saw me do in the back. 3, 5. And then the next one I have is the 12. After the 12 I have the 15, and then the 20. And maybe you can play with the math differently in a different video, but yeah, I do have a camera, but usually I use my phone whenever I want to upload it on YouTube immediately, because otherwise this ends up staying for so long before I get to it. My longer videos, more detailed videos, I use that, yeah. So the reason is that with 3, 5, 12, 15, and 20, I can play with these combinations and get any size spacer I want. If I want 25, it's easy. Get the 5, get the 20, bolt them down together, right? If I want, what was it I was thinking about? 10mm, just 2 5s, you know? I can use 2 5s on one side. 8, here it is. If I want a 12, perfect. I got my 12 right here. If I want a 13, how was that? Was 5, 5, and this, right? 3 and 2 5s. So there were many different combinations I could have played with. If I wanted a 15, I guess I could have the 2 of these together, 12 and the 3, but I already have a 15 over here. But if I wanted an 18, perfect. 2 of these together, you know. So combinations are not limited. If I wanted to try a 27, you know, there you go. I got these 2 right here instead of the 25 or whatever. Sorry, that would not be 27, would it? No, this is 12 plus 15. Yeah, 27. There you go. Or, so interesting. But I wanted to show you guys all these different things. I hope it makes sense as to why I didn't buy the exact specs I wanted, because they're different specs, and I knew I'd be playing with different cars. So, for example, the SUV ended up, I don't know, is this good? It's right there. It's very interesting, actually. It's quite aggressive. So, you know, the SUV needs different specs than what the sedans needed, than what that one needed, than what that one is going to need, you know. So, and maybe I might want to do something with the Murano. Who knows, you know? No, I'm selling the Murano. So, that's what I wanted to do. Again, the videos become a little longer than I thought, but I enjoy learning, and I enjoy teaching and sharing the few things that I know. So, sometimes I get carried away. Forgive me for that.